Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural chapter of Atmiya Charities. Elevate your career with AI. Thank you all for being so patient and sitting through this technical glitch. Several centuries and millions of years of evolution has led to one conclusion that a man needs food, clothing, shelter, and more recently, Wi Fi. But for all of that, what we want or what we need to achieve all of that is a sustainable career. Not a job, not a business. We all put that in one umbrella career. Now, the time or this time that's been in the market, it's very uncertain. A lot of insecurities are floating around. People who have come here as students or people who are already working, they all have this one question: what will happen next? Will I be laid off? Will I be able to sustain my career? And that's a valid question to have. But for that question to not bother us is to have such skills, to have such strong fundamentals, that regardless of corporate restructuring, regardless of the competition, we will be able to achieve what we came for. We will be able to achieve our purpose, a sustainable career. Now, for the past 1 year or 2 years, I'd like to ask all of you, which word is the most trending word? Any shout outs here? Yeah. Not America and India, like our Prime Minister Narendra Modi said. There was this board outside of a an office in India which said Chai GPT, powered by AI, which was Adrak and Ilaichi. But not even that. AI stands for artificial intelligence, as we all know. Now, several decades ago, it was like a distant dream that, okay, there will be something in the future and we will be able to automate stuff, robots will take over, and fantasies and fiction movies and articles were created. Few years ago, it was a good thing to have. Like if you have AI, it's a good thing, it's a nice to have thing. But now, AI is like electricity, it's a necessity. And if we don't adapt it, if we don't have it in our lives, then we'll be left behind. And in this competitive world, what we are doing right now is taking that one small step in making and building a sustainable career. So, friends, today we'd have demonstrations from professionals from industries. We have Meet Parekh, who's a senior software engineer at Zorro. He's done his master's from NYU University and his bachelor's from VJTI. We have Smaran Patel, who's doing his master's in video production. And we have Kirit Tanna, who is a vice president of technology at JP Morgan and Chase. So these three professionals are going to demonstrate how we can use AI in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, to enhance our productivity and take those small steps to our purpose. So without further ado, let me call upon Meet Parekh to start with this demonstration.
Hello. Yeah, first of all, thanks to Krutharth for introducing me. So, before we start this session, um, my entire team is right here on the stage. So, I'll just request this kind audience to put a round of applause for my entire team out here. I indeed have a very nice audience right here with me. Like, nobody asked the question, like, where is my entire team on the stage? Because there is no person on the stage. But that's what this today's session is all about. It's all about using AI as your teammates, using AI as your assistants in your workflow to enhance your efficiency and to be at the top of the grade. So, without talking much about what's AI and the hype about AI, I'll demonstrate one very simple video that's generated using AI. The video was generated like right within 4 minutes, and it was generated using a tool called the Synthesia. So I want someone out here to welcome you all. So I'll ask my teammate Mark to welcome you on the stage.
Hello, I am Mark. Thank you for giving me this stage. And look at such a nice audience we have here. I wish you all a warm welcome to this event on Elevate Your Career with AI, hosted by Atmiya Charities, where we are available for you. In today's session, we will cover what is this generative AI? How to build a resume using AI? How to use AI for generating production grade graphics? How to use AI as your coding aid to boost your efficiency. Today's session would be filled with live demos and interactive activities, so stay tight in your seat and get ready for this session. Once again, I welcome you all to this session and thank you for giving us an opportunity to do your service.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for welcoming this kind audience out here. So, before much about more demonstrations with the AI and more of, doing the geeky things with AI, I'll jump right into what this session's all about and what's the crux of it. So, Kruthart already mentioned about the age of occupation, the age of work that we are living in. But Microsoft 365 did a survey across all the organizations that are using Microsoft 365. Now, if we have people out here who are working in big banks and insurance companies or all of those companies, they're probably already using Microsoft's product. So it's a large set of population. And they say 50% of the time employees spend in communication. Now, these are either emails, meetings, or messages. And even as students, like majority of the time, we just spend sending emails to the recruiters or applying for the job postings if we are hunting for the job. And another statistic says that 43% of their time they spend writing documents, building spreadsheets, and creating presentations. So technically, if you sum it up, it goes on an average about 100% of the time is spent doing this thing. So then the question arises, when do they work? And we are living in an age where there is a requirement to communicate more than ever before and deliver work faster than ever before. So how do we enhance our proficiency in this age? And that's what all this session is about. I talked about my team, but it's not just my team. It's the team of every one of us present around here. And we can leverage this team together to enhance our job application process or to enhance the way we work. So, what this team is? The team is artificial intelligence. And to be honest, it's not a new term. We have been using Siri, Alexa. There has been self-driving cars right around the park since a long time. So artificial intelligence is not a new term, but the new term is generative AI. Like if you ask a couple of years ago, it was considered that artificial intelligence is not smart enough or not intellectual enough to produce content. But that age is changing with GPT or Chat GPT. So we'll be today demonstrating how to use ChatGPT to build a resume, how to use ChatGPT to build graphics, and how to use ChatGPT as your coding co-pilot. Now, for work, you could use it for a coding co-pilot, but as a student, I know most of you already use it to do your assignments, but that's not the purpose of this. But just understanding behind the scene what ChatGPT is. So in essence, it's just a neural network. If you can think of it, it's just kind of a replica of our brain with about 100 billion neurons. So it's still smaller than the size of our brain. And it's trained on vast majority of data that's available on the internet, text, audios, videos, images. And it is retaining that memory. So next time when you pitch certain questions to it or have some conversations with it, based on its memory and based on the question that you pitched, it's responding, you are generating some contents for you. And there are certain benefits to it, like it can generate novel content that would technically take time for you to think. It can help you in the decision making. Like, for example, if you ask any human, it would take him an hour to come up with 20 different alternatives, but ChatGPT can pitch you 20 different alternatives within like few seconds. And it can enhance your productivity in this way. So obviously, ChatGPT is a buzzword. Like, it had 1 million users sign up within 5 days, which is even greater than Instagram, which took 2.5 months to have 1 million users, or Netflix, which took 3 years or 4 years to have 1 million users. And the interesting thing is, GPT is also going to roll out GPT-4, which can deal with multimodal data. So, what do we mean by multimodal data? Multimodal data is not only text, images, videos, audios. So, it's rolling out soon for the paid users. But enough of it said already. Let's start jumping into what we are truly here for. Now, many of us out here might be students who have fairly basic question, like they don't care about communicating over emails, or they don't care about making presentations and stuff. All they care about is having a good resume, a good email writing skills to the recruiters that can get them their interview calls. And some of us out here might already be working, who are wondering how they can leverage this AI to speed up the pace at which they are working. So, we'll first talk about a first demo that is about generating our resume using AI. Now, before we jump into this, I just have a small questionnaire for all of the audience present out here. Like, I know most of you would already be familiar, but how many of us have used Chat GPT or Chat OpenAI.com before? Just can I have a show of hands? Okay, almost everyone. How many of us have used this tool to generate a resume for us? Okay, the numbers dropped in half. And if I ask, like, when people have generated resume using this tool, how many of us have just used one or two prompts to generate resume? Show of hands. And how many of us have used multiple prompts, like an entire conversation, to generate a resume? Okay, most of us. So this was just for my reference. So when I present, I can dive into the greater details of the things depending on the topic at hand. But what exactly is a resume? I know we all know it's just a piece of paper that can get us our first interview call and maybe unlock a door for many, many dollars for us. But when we apply for a job, like on an average, certain job would receive hundreds and thousands of applications. And it is obvious that hiring manager or HR recruiter wouldn't be looking at all of these resumes. So I know many of us already know that this resumes goes through a system called as applicant tracking system, which is an AI in itself. And what it does is it takes your resume and it takes the key proficiencies that are required for the job, performs a match against it, and gives you the percentage match. And if there is a good percentage match, then your resume goes to the recruiter and hiring manager. And then it goes through a human review where they review if they find the candidate to be impressive and if they want to interview the candidate or not. So we don't just want some piece of paper writing or underlining what we have done. We want a resume that can go through ATS, that can reach the recruiter, and that can click hiring manager to give us a call. So I'll demonstrate quite a few examples here. Just bear with me. I'll need to sign in. Okay, so I'm sorry for that wait, but out here, I'll demonstrate few ways how we can use ChatGPT to generate a resume for us. And I'll also demonstrate how to check if that resume is a good match for the job application that we are trying to apply to. So just to give you some context, this is one of the job applications at Bloomberg that I had applied to recently, and I did get an interview call for it. And I'll show you quite a few resumes that I have and that I generated using ChatGPT, and I'll show you what's the percent match of those resumes against this job opening. So one naive way that I guess many of us might use ChatGPT. So first what I did is I just took the job opening and I prompted ChatGPT that here's the job opening and just write me a resume that is matching this job opening. And it did write me a resume with some experience. And like, if there are any experienced folks sitting around here, um, right off the bat, there are few flaws in this resume. Like, can anyone from here point out what's the flaw in this resume? Sorry, anyone? Sorry. Yeah, dates there, but there, there are a couple of things. One is that it has no relevance with me, and second, the content out here is pretty generic. Now, I would bet my money on it that if there are 1,000 applicants applying for a job, probably all of them have listed these skills on their resume. So it does not in any way compel the recruiter to call me. And here's another resume that I had generated, but this time around, I had a slightly different approach where I had a conversation with this chat GPT. I asked it, hey, I want you to generate my resume. And then chat GPT prompted out a list of information that it needs for me to generate my resume. So, all right, I provide my name, my contact information. For my career summary, I asked ChatGPT that, I don't want to write a career summary for myself. You please write it for me. And that's probably what most of us do in school. We ask our friends to generate a career summary for us. But now this ChatGPT is our friend that we ask to do it. But there is a key catch here. I have asked it explicitly to generate a summary that demonstrates me as a business oriented engineer. Now, this is something that ChatGPT won't know. This decision making, this intellect, or this skills about how you want to portray yourself is a unique human ability. And then I gave it my experience. Now, there are a couple of things to note what's going on here. One, with my experience, I haven't highlighted exact bullet points that I want, but I have exactly told it what I want. As in, I know that I want to highlight the impacts that I have made at my workplace. I know that I wanted to highlight the key technologies that I have leveraged at my workplace. And I know that I wanted to highlight, me as a compelling individual. Is this visible to everyone? Like, do you want me to zoom in a little bit? Yeah, so this is what I've done. But at the same time, I have not organized any content for it. So if I go further down, it generates me a resume. But if you look at it properly, it has just paraphrased all the points that I gave to it. It's not smart enough. So further down, I asked it that the points that I mentioned are just brain dump. I want you to reorganize it in a proper bullet points, segregating it into separate projects and highlighting the key achievements that I have for this project. And that's exactly what it did for me. It segregated all of these points according to the projects and segregated them into different bullet points. So what I did is I basically took these points, copy pasted them in my resume, and I went ahead, and there is this tool called as Jobalytics. Like, if you guys are applying, it's a fairly simple raw tool. It is not frontier of the technology, but it can also, in a very simple sense, give you the percent match that your resume has with the job opening that you are applying. And this is the resume that I had generated from it, and it got me a 51% match. Now, again, this might not sound a lot, but there is also one version of the resume that I had made manually. And when I say manually, it took me a couple of weeks to make it properly. And that's actually the resume that I applied with, and I still got a call. And if you see, this resume only matches 23% of the job description. So within 10 minutes, I already have something which is much better than what took me a couple of weeks to generate. And there is also one more thing this is one way of using ChatGPT. But if I go back to my previous conversation, ChatGPT is 100 billion neurons and it has lots of memory in it. So you or we as a user should know how to evoke those memories to get truly what we want. And that's exactly what I did. In this is an hour-long conversation that I had with ChatGPT to generate my resume. And how it took place is that I asked it to assume that it's a hiring manager of a company like Google and it's hiring for a data engineering position. And then it listed out all the key job requirements that I had. And again, in this hour-long conversation, we both worked together to find out what are the key proficiencies that I need for my job, to find out, to work along with it. I worked along with it on my previous experiences to find out what are the key things that can be portrayed from this. And I changed my resume accordingly, according to the final experience that it prompted out to me. And when I try to match it against this job analytica bot, it gives me a 75% match. And there is a subtle difference in it. The conversation, the resume that was generated using the conversation, it generated much more impactful points and much more compelling points. So in this session, the key takeaway was there is this tool and there is a way to leverage it to generate better resumes within like an hour instead of week. But what makes a good resume? What makes a compelling resume? What makes an impactful resume, or what makes a resume go through the ATS is a completely different skill that we as a humans need to know to make this guy to work for us. So what are those skills would be coming up in the subsequent sessions of career events that we'll be hosting along with Atmiya Care Charities. So stay tuned for it. But this is all I had for my demo. And now I'll invite Smaran Patel to demonstrate what he did with the graphic designing using AI.
Thank you, Meet, for your excellent presentation on how to use ChatGPT. We're going to shift our gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about how to use generative AI for live practical application that we did in our SPS that passed earlier this year. How many people here attended the SPS 2023? Very nice, almost the whole crowd. So what was unique about SPS 2023 was we had this very nice, big LED wall. And what made it a challenge to do or work with, it was a custom resolution. So as you can see, all of these are long strips. They're not the standard rectangular square that everybody is used to for any kind of standard content like you see on a TV or a projection. So that was one of the challenges we had when we were working with this kind of a screen, making content for it. So as we spoke about, one of the incidences that we're going to talk about is the Ghanshyam Prasang that we did in SPS. So in SPS, as everybody's aware, we do these live dramas that represent all these various incidents and stories detailing the life of Guru Hari Swami Sri and Guru Hari Prabhu Swamiji. One such prasang was the prasang of Ghanshyam. And I won't go too much into the prasang, but the prasang required that we create a backdrop for each of the scenes that the story demanded. And so the goals were to create a backdrop for the prasang, recreate Swami Sri's car. The cars that you see here were some reference images that we had, but as you can see, none of them were full images of the car itself. And to recreate the car accident that happened in the prasang itself. And so the tools that we had available at that time were Midjourney and Photoshop's generative fill. Now, normally when we did this kind of thing before AI, what we would need to do is either use these references and maybe recreate something, cutting out the images and photoshopping that together, or we would have to use stock images that we can find on Google to make something. Even if we did find something, it was still an issue getting it to be a custom resolution depending on the resolution of our LED screen. So this year we decided let's try playing around with some AI. So in Midjourney is where we started. And in Midjourney, we entered this prompt, Ambassador Indian car. We knew the car that Swamiji had was an Ambassador. We weren't still familiar with the tool. So we started with this and we got to this. Okay, not exactly what we're looking for. So then generative AI is not something like a plug and play. You can't just type in a prompt and expect to get a complete, right answer right from the start. So then we did some research. Okay, let's try putting in the year. The year the pressing took place was 1970, somewhere in the 1970s. And we knew the model of that was the model Ambassador Indian car. And we knew it was white. So when you're making generative AI, you can put in certain prompts to force it to go into the direction that you're kind of looking for. In this case, we used 1970s model Ambassador car Indian. We wanted a side view because, again, we wanted to make use of the whole screen. And we got into this. Iterating upon that a little bit further, we found out that it was the Hindustan Ambassador car. Again, some Google searching, and we found different models of the Ambassador car, and then we found out that it was the Hindustan Ambassador car. So again, 1970s, using the prompt Hindu Ambassador car. And this time we added in village in the background because the drama incident took place in a village itself. And now we're getting a lot more better results, closer to what we were looking for. Just more iterations of that same prompt. You can also just regenerate the same prompt, and you can see just how different some of these other results are using the same similar type of situation and background. So from there, we selected this one, and this was a pretty nice one. And one of the other ones we iterated upon was maybe this one as well. So again, very nice images. They would be very useful, but again, they were still this square design. And that was still only one part of the prasang. Though the main issue that we'll be talking about is when we need to recreate that car accident. Okay, so we got the car somewhat. Now we need to make this accident. So again, like I said, the first thing we tried, let's just throw the prompt and let's see if it gives you a car accident. It didn't. These were some of our more funny results. He just tried combining the car and the truck together into something weird. Okay, then we tried, let's just get the car itself, then we get the truck itself. Maybe that will give us something. And we tried this, so we used keywords like after accident, dented front, crash, side view, side profile. Okay, they were better, but it wasn't like a hit accident, right? This is something where it was damaged over time or something, or it was left abandoned. So, all right, we tried the truck itself. So then I tried just searching Indian military trucks on Google, found the very first result, and name itself of it was the Tata LPTA. Now, Midjourney has this cool feature where you can just feed it this image, and you can have Midjourney describe what the image is reading from there. So this was one of the prompts that Midjourney itself, when you plug in that image from Google, this was the prompt that it gives you, and then you can use Midjourney to generate it. And it generated these 4 images. So this was a pretty good result, kind of looking similar to what we were looking for. This was another model, or this was another prompt that Midjourney gave out from that one Google image. And this was modified a little bit by adding in the model number of that truck itself into that, as you see in the the highlighted term. And one of the other key terms we added was nighttime. So the result in the top right was one of the results that we really liked and we wanted to work with. So we just generated more variations of this. Again, using that same keyword, side profile, adding in some more prompts to get kind of the exact look that we were looking for. And so we settled on this final image itself, of the truck itself. Okay, so now it's nighttime, we have the truck itself, now we just need to do the same thing for the car. So again, we put the same model in, and this time we used, emphasizing the same prompts kind of gives you more weight to the kind of result that you're looking for. In this case, side view, side angle, side profile, nighttime, all to force the AI itself to give you a result that you're kind of looking for. We wanted something that was just from the side, not the car tilted on any kind of an angle. So again, top right result was one of the ones that came out really nice. So we were here, and this is where we went from Midjourney into Photoshop. And I'll just open up the file itself in Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop, and this isn't exactly where we want to be at, right? This is still just a foundation where we used AI to kind of skip some steps, right? Normally we could get to this by finding some similar images, but when it's very specific to kind of what you need, you might not end up with what you want. So again, we come into Photoshop, and just some simple color correction to match the lighting, change the back of that. And so this is where we use Photoshop's generative AI, generative fill. If you see here, this is the area I selected. And this is where I selected, and this is where I put the prompt that you'll see here. Indian farmland alongside road, nighttime. So this is inside Photoshop itself. Now, Photoshop isn't very good on creating on a blank canvas. But if you give it if you already have an image and you want to change that a little bit, modify that, results are very good. So we got the road, we got the car. Now we wanted a little bit nicer of a road. So again, just selected the road, added in something a little bit more nicer, something that matched. And I just, you can see the prompt here, asphalt road, nighttime, old. Just added in like an edge to the road itself. Now we have all this light that's coming in here. So we just found a poll on Google, again, Desi style poll. We couldn't have it generate something because it's not trained on Indian style results that well yet. But I just found something on Google, something you would see in a normal village. Adjusted it, changed some of the lighting and corrected it. And, just to match this lighting that's coming in on the back of this and this tree, just throw in a light post there just to kind of give it that fill. Same thing on the other side to fill that truck on that side. On this side, we have, if you see on the bottom here, right here somewhere, we're just adding a subtle broken glass. You might not be able to see it on this screen itself, but it was evident when it's blown up a little bit bigger. You have just some broken glass to show that there was an accident, a tailpipe to show that it did crash into something and something broke off. And finally, we have this hood that's broken on. Again, also grabbed it from Google, just grabbed an image, cutting it out, sticking it on there and making sure the colors kind of matched. So eventually we got to this image, right? Now once you have the image, you can take this and you start adding some animations to it. So we have Partha in the audience here somewhere who took this image into After Effects and he added in some animations to it. So let's see what it looks like once there's animations on it. So again, after putting in some animations to it, some very subtle animations, you see some smoke over here, you see these lights blinking, just to add some sort of a live element to the image that is now static. And all this is, once you have the image made in Photoshop, then you can work upon it, adding in these small kinds of elements to give it just some more life. And finally, this is what it was in the prasang itself. You can see it on stage in front of the actors as they're walking around and doing the incident, the big LED screen in the back. And you can see where the motion really helps just, sell the ambience of the whole scene itself. So that was just, one nice example how we practically started using some AI features into the workflow of our Shibirs and SPSs. So again, AI is just a tool, and it's not just a one-click solution to even issues that we have, right? You have to use it in parallel to adding in your own creativity, your own elements on top of that in order to make the full use out of it. It is a time-saving tool. It's not the one button click and gives you whatever you need in the final solution. So just to expand on that, I would like to invite Kiritanna to talk about this further.
It was fantastic, isn't it? The fact that you can generate an entire backdrop all the way from, just starting out with an empty canvas. If anyone's been in the field of graphic design, you'd kind of appreciate the work and the time that takes to create, because it was tough. The fact that you can, create these different images from all these different camera angles and things like that, there's a lot of challenge to that. And AI is definitely, making things a lot easier. I really loved that demo, by the way. Smaran bhai, that was awesome. Coming back to things that we can do with AI at work, to make our day-to-day better. A lot of the students who signed up here said that they come from a computer science background, which means most of your day job involves some sort of coding, right? At least that's what I'm hoping you do. But yeah, we all coders, we are kind of guilty of copying and pasting from Stack Overflow, from code that was written by our peers who worked on the project before us. How many of you are guilty of copying something and then failing miserably? So that's what the whole idea of AI code editors is what we are going into next. They're being branded as co-pilots. You'll hear this term a lot. It started out with Microsoft using this term because the idea of replacing humans is scary. We don't want to replace ourselves with our own creations either, right? Like the fact that I'm a father, replacing my image with my son's is also a little scary in some ways. So, bots left aside. We never want to get to that AI apocalypse future, right? Even if it's inevitable at some point. So the idea of co-pilots is that, as you've seen with all AI, nothing comes for free. You still need to have the relevant context. You need to be able to steer the AI in the direction that you eventually hoping the output to be. So it's a guided process, right? It's not fully automated or autonomous at this point. The future is unknown, right? We don't know how far the reach of AI is or how much the penetration of these technologies is going to impact our lives. But at this time, this word co-pilot is a good way to think about it. It's something that we can use to improve our understanding about, let's say, a code base that we have just been introduced to, right? Like you join a financial tech company or any big e-commerce company, any big software company, right? They have a lot of code which was pre-written, which you get introduced to newly. And even if you know the language it's written in, sometimes it's really hard to make sense of all the context that surrounds it, right? Like there could be so many things that are happening in there. And what I like about the co-pilots is one aspect to it is learning, right? You can use the co-pilots to learn from what has been written prior to, code that you have not written, code that's third party. We all use open source technologies as well. So it's a great way to even learn from open source projects. The other thing that it does is obviously it helps to generate code. Similarly to how ChatGPT uses language, like English language or any other language, spoken language, code generators are familiar with programming languages. So they are able to generate code that is meaningful, that is contextual, and that works right out of the box. I was kind of taken back as well. Like when I seen some of the initial demos last September is when I started dabbling around a little bit with ChatGPT and seeing blog posts about it. Much before it was actually available to the public. But it's pretty awesome. And GitHub Copilot has been around for even longer. It's been around since 2021 when OpenAI released Open Codex, which is the model that most of these code editors are based on. We are going to look at one editor today, which is, it's called Cursor. How many of you have heard of this word, like the Cursor AI editor? It's kind of like the first search that will come up if you type in AI code editor inside the browser. So it's not too hard to find. And there's a lot of buzz about it even being better than GitHub Copilot in some aspects. But yeah, that you can only test if you do something firsthand, and then you're able to draw a comparison. But let's get into demo time. So I'm gonna have a lot of time over here. I'm just going to jump straight into the demo. So live demos are always scary, is this visible? Because we got some feedback earlier that it's a little hard to read everything over here. I just want to make sure that you can see the code. What happens over here? Okay, I think this is better, right? So what we are going to do is we're going to use JavaScript, which is a language that I work with daily, to create a small web game of tic-tac-toe. How many of you guys played tic-tac-toe over here? So yeah, that's the game that we're going to generate. So it's pretty easy to understand what the game is about, right? Like I don't have to explain what the game is about. So what we're going to do is create this simple JavaScript file. It's called tic-tac-toe-game.js. And then I'm going to put in a prompt over here. Okay, this is all we got to do. So everything in AI at this time is unfortunately a chat interface, right? This is going to change with time, as Meet talked about before, right? ChatGPT and GPT-4 comes out in October, and that has capabilities of multimodal, right? All these buzzwords within AI, it's really a good time for us to start understanding some of them, because there's a lot of jargon when you get introduced to AI. And what multimodal means is you can have different kinds of input, right? So most of the times these days you find input being as text, right? Written language. But as humans, we don't just communicate with text, right? Like we Snapchat with just pictures, or we send emojis to express emotions, and like all sorts of things. So multimodal covers that whole aspect of using images, video, audio, and all these different medias to talk to the bot and guide the output accordingly. Again, yeah, I'm just going to write a prompt. So I'm going to say, so this is React. On my day job, this is kind of the thing that I do. I'm a React engineer on the front end team that I work with. So I'm going to tell this. So in React, you have this idea of components. So I'm going to say, create a component that plays tic-tac-toe with 2 players and document it. Hopefully this live demo goes well and this actually works. If not, I have a backup which I created offline. So you can even have like follow-up prompts. You see, like similar to how ChatGPT generates a language response. In this case, oh, are you seeing it? Seeing it, right? Yeah, okay. I don't know, it kind of stalled after this. Maybe I tell it to continue. Yeah, I'm a free user of this at this time. I don't have a paid subscription to this tool. Oh no, okay. It's kind of going just to the halfway and then it stalls over here. But I can show you what I have in the backup, which is this file over here, tic-tac-toe. And this is what it generated. So this, out of the box, let me show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to clear up some of the stuff that I added to make it look better. That's straight out of the box as well. This actually works pretty well. So you see that? That's what this looks like. So you get a simple interface over here with all these 9 buttons, and then alternatively it will automatically track how this player is playing, and then when an end is reached, it is able to determine a winner as well. So this is pretty awesome, right? Like for somebody just getting started with, let's say, game design or building web games, you're able to generate something that works right out of the box. Of course, there's elements to it that you still need to work on to make it styled or make it look better and things like that, which is what I added with the styling and things like that over here. But you directly get this. Not just that, it's also able to generate something that we all find hard to write when we get started with code, is unit testing. So it also generates a lot of test cases for us. So we have like different test cases over here. In this case, you see there's a test case which checks if the game actually works in terms of logic, like with a specific set of moves, and it gives us the correct result, which means that there's a winner printed on the screen, right? So if I look at that, go here and I run npm test, which is the command to run tests in this case. I see I get all my 3 test cases passing. I didn't write a single line of this. This was all generated through this tool. Not just that, it is able to even identify bugs in your code. So if you're writing something by yourself and then you provide that context as an input, it's going to tell you whether this actually works in the way you're expecting it to work. And it'll even make suggestions to make it more optimized. Let's say you chose to run your search through like a binary search algorithm. But if it felt that another algorithm is more optimized for this data set, then it will make suggestions and it'll ask you to kind of refactor your code. So you get all these amazing inputs, and we are just only getting started with automatic code generation. We have a lot that is coming through the pipes, and as time goes by, this is starting to get more and more efficient. What I like about this is even people with no background in coding might be able to create some things. And that's the beauty about all AI. You think about it, like using something like Midjourney, a person who has no idea about graphics can still create something, right? All they need to understand is how the system works and what their end goals are. So that's where AI is really enhancing, our careers into. So we are going to start to have capabilities which we didn't we weren't formally educated for, like graphics or maybe code or all these different things. But if we have an idea and if we have an end goal that is clear, then we should be able to have all the tools with AI that help us reach that end goal. And that is what I'd like to conclude this with, is that let's at this point think that AI is that companion that helps us to realize that idea that we have somewhere sitting inside our head without maybe external support. Like, we don't have friends who might be graphic designers, or we don't have friends who might write code, but we can do it ourselves now. And that is very, very empowering to me. So that's all from us guys today. Thank you very much. I'll call Krutad Bhai on stage to wrap this up.
Presented. I hope this demonstration and this seminar was enjoyable and illuminating in forms of learning. The main takeaways from this is that AI is not there to replace us, but to assist us. We don't need to be a technical person to adapt this in our lives. This was just an overview of some of the tools, a demonstration of some of the tools, but there are a lot of other things like PowerPoints, Excel, in which we can adopt a part of AI in our workflow. And AI is not a one-click solution, except for Roomba robot, but otherwise, it's not a one-click solution to our problems. Nothing can replace skills, experience, logic, and hard work. So while we have this, we can use AI to enhance our workflow. So after this event, we will be having our Summon My Youth meet. So we'll take a 5-minute break. But I hope that you enjoyed this event, and stay tuned for upcoming events like this. Every month, some Atmiya Care Charities will have different chapters with career-related stuff. So see you, and stay tuned for the next events. So now there's some break. We will be segueing into Summon My Youth meet. So people who want to take a small break for 5 minutes, 10 minutes can take it. And someone who wants to interact with these professionals, after the Summon My Youth meet, they'll be downstairs during dinner, and we can have a meet and greet session with them informally. So feel free to do that as well. Thank you.